Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. My name is Mpho and I've got Tim Lace here with me to talk all things South African cricket. I think we're back to our first loves this weekend, so it's been good. Red ball cricket's been working. Pitches, we'll talk about all of that, but a lot has happened in South African cricket. A lot of stuff that you were shouting at South African cricket CSA about the fixtures, but I think Tim and I knew about the fixtures. We're going to be talking about that. But yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, Tim, how are you doing?
I'm good, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, dude. I'm good. We'll get into the cricket just now. But I'm absolutely good.
And as we mentioned, we're a South African cricket podcast, and you can find us on X at Full Quota Pod. We've been engaging with you throughout the weeks and throughout the season in relation to domestic cricket updates and national team updates, men's and women's. And if you want to get to know more about that and be the first to know when news breaks, please do follow us at Full Quota Pod on X. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube now, please do subscribe. Whether you like us or not, we love the support. Please do support us. Help us just get as far and wide as possible. Please share also as far and wide, because we're trying to grow this podcast. We're not just doing it for the fun. We do love cricket. It is a passion project of ours. But most importantly, we want this podcast to grow as much as possible. And in doing that, we've also gone on to audio, which is Apple Podcast and Spotify. If you want to walk around your neighborhood and listen to us, you can. If you want to drive to work and have us in there and be like, what happened this weekend? What are the Dolphins going through? Are the Warriors going to get relegated? You can. Apple Podcasts and Spotify has you covered at fullquotapodcast.com. And then finally, if you want to allow our work to continue, I am going to the World Test Championship to be there to cover it. But we want to do more things like that, to be able to do that. That's obviously off the back of my own our own costs and things like that. But if you'd like to support the cause, to have us travel the world and follow the Proteas and follow more cricket that the Proteas are playing, or do more domestic things, like maybe send Tim to PE for a couple of weeks to follow the Warriors, or to send Tim to Free State. I don't know why we would do that, but the Knights are a great cricket team and he could go there and do some interviews there too. But you know, the ambitions and the things only can go with the help of you, our beloved listeners and viewers, and any and all contributions are appreciated. You can go do that at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quota Podcast. You know, unfortunately, we are doing this as a passion project, and we'd appreciate any contributions, because any more contributions go a long way in opening up this podcast space, and maybe and eventually making this the number one hub for Protea discussions and South African cricket discussions and content, and only that is only done by through the help of you all. But thank you very much for the support so far across the platforms. Really appreciate it. And you can see with the level of content and the improvement of content throughout the years, actually, because we've been doing this for quite a long time now, Tim. And so that's all it is. But yeah, that is the admin side of things. But now we go to the news side of things. Let's start with the home summer fixtures that have been announced. There are lots of tours, Tim. There's an SAA inbound tour with New Zealand coming in, which is going to be quite interesting for the next cycle of the World Test Championship. And it's unfortunately there is no home test series, which means that our friends there at SA20 have the ability to, and I will be taking the crown, well, not the crown, but the Boxing Day and New Year's crown, because now we're watching T20 cricket instead of Test cricket. New Zealand A is coming in. There'll be some 4-day matches and some 1-day matches in September to start off with from a home summer perspective. SA under 19 will be having a youth ODI series. So to the Proteas Women will have an inbound tour against Ireland. in December, which is going to be really nice. And also they'll be hosting Pakistan as well in 2026. And there's nothing for the Proteas men in that period. I know that they will be playing the West Indies in January the 27th after SA20 has ended. SA20 will be ending, and the day after our first T20 will be there, which also kind of gives an indication that we might get some more West Indians in this SA20, especially over December. It's an interesting window, right? Because you're sitting with a big bash, and you're fighting that now. The international T20 window is always in Jan, so the one that's in the UAE. So it's going to be interesting to see the take up of this. And I think outside of the fact that we don't have Test cricket and this will be the only cricket we'll be able to consume, I think it's going to be quite great. And also families and people will now be able to go to the stadium. So I'm expecting ticket price increases in SA20. I hope they don't do that, but I'm expecting it. And I'm expecting more viewership because obviously January, everyone's coming back to work. So, attention spans and people are quite busy. But if you can get that last week of December, that first week of Jan, and you can get most of the tournament done and SA20 will be fine. However, we will lament the fact that the senior national men's team will not be playing in the sweet spot of our cricketing calendar. And when the pitches are at their best, that for me is the big frustration, right? Is that SA20 is going to get great pitches. I think we're going to see some really high scoring games. But I'd have loved the Proteas to also have an opportunity to be able to play in this window. But unfortunately, the way cricket is being run, we don't necessarily have a big say in it. We knew about this months ago when we thought CSA would try find someone to do a bilateral series with us, even if it was in Afghanistan or the like. Afghanistan is not the flavor of the month right now. But Tim, what do you make of that news? Because that was the big news last week, and everyone was shouting, and all the soliloquies and the theses came out of that.
Yeah, look, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and we knew the likelihood of us having a test match against, as you say, somebody like an Ireland was highly, highly unlikely, because everybody else has the likes of England and Australia have their schedules already tied up. So that was not likely. The fact that in terms of international watch, which is what the focus is at the moment, the fact that I can only watch two T20s at Newlands the entire summer is unbelievably depressing. People will know that it's unbelievably depressing. But all I'm going to get is 6 hours of cricket. Maybe 7.
Yeah.
That is it.
International cricket. That is sad.
Summer.
Very sad. I'm surprised we don't have more ODIs, because this was my thinking, right? It's the World Cup in 2027 is happening in South Africa. Surely there should be CSA. So look, I'm not putting this at CSA's door, but here's a business idea. Here's an idea, right? You're hosting the 2027 World Cup. Don't you want to go to all the boards and say, hey guys, don't you want to get a taste of conditions in South Africa? Come through. And I thought they would be able to do that, even if it was ODI series, right? We just play ODIs during December, which you've done before, right? We just move it across into that Boxing Day window, right? And you go and you sell yourself as a destination. India would have brought a team, even though they would have been somewhere else in the world, or hosting someone else. Even if it was like, I like the A tour, but there was obviously New Zealand are in their window, but everyone else that isn't in New Zealand, Australia, and England and India, because England and Australia are playing the Ashes later this year in December, right? And so you have that. So, but everyone else, right? Obviously, the West Indies are already coming, right? But bring back a Bangladesh. Why not? The last time they were here, they beat us in ODI cricket. Bring them back, right? Bring back a Sri Lanka. Bring back a Pakistan, right? Afghanistan as well. They're a powerhouse in the world. Yes, they may not be the flavor of the month, but it's still international cricket. And my worry is next year when we look at the loss that CSA is going to make, because they're not going to have much. It's going to be a lot because there's not a lot of Proteas games in the window where Proteas games are being made. The idea that SA20 is going to cover for that is a fallacy, because Proteas men's cricket gives CSA close to about 650 to 700 million a year, right? Just for Proteas playing around the world and doing that. And those are the broadcast revenues, right? SA20 brings in about a 50 to 100 million rand profit. It's not going to cover for the loss in revenue that you have. You might get a contract of half a billion now because you don't have home summers. So the other thing is you got to put, like what we're doing here, content in front of people. Let everyone see it. Let it be broadcast by everybody so you can earn money from it. And I think we may have dropped the ball with this summer window. And I don't know where it sits, and I don't want to be conspiracy theory, but also the SA20 argument, because in my head, I think this is the first of many SA20 starting on Boxing Day. And this is the start. With the death of Test cricket that's happening around the world and having a season like this, outside of the fact that, because the other argument is, no, it's fine. You'll play Test matches in Jan and Feb and March. England will come Jan, Feb and March. The only problem is obviously you're then sandwiched between the IPL and whatever international tournament like the Champions Trophy or World Cup that starts at the front of the year. So
the only good night for me, and I'm not at all thinking this is going to happen, but once this initial agreement with SA20 has to be renewed, so the first 6 years, this is what we got. The first 6 years, we get it as it is. Once that runs out, if I'm Cricket South Africa, hypothetically we are in a better position financially. We should have more power. We should be able to, in that sphere, go, okay, these are our non-negotiables. A test match at Boxing Day and a test match at New Year's are non-negotiables. We can play the SA20 around it, but we have to have test matches around at those times. If Cricket South Africa did that, my estimation on them would go tenfold. I'm not necessarily thinking that's going to happen, but I think that would be a good thing if that did happen. Because as you say, it's all very well spending all this money into SA20, which is a great product, but if you only spend it on that, the rest of the game is going to die. And you're not going to get the players that you need for SA20 if you just focus on one product only.
Yeah, and it's the idea of having all-rounded cricketers, right? And making sure that in the all-rounded cricketer that they are able to play across the formats. And we've had many coaches speak of the build-up into learning how to play T20 cricket. It is about the fundamentals, right? You need to have the foundations and the basics right. And the only way you can have the foundations and basics right is if you take care of the other parts of the game, the ODI, the test match cricket, and get your batters and your bowlers learning their trade there in order for them to be able to apply some of the skills, because not all of them are applicable in T20 cricket at T20 cricket level. And it's a great way to grow players in the system as well. But anyway, that's the key news of the week. The other thing, it was just a week of domestic cricket. The Proteas who wanted the IPL were available. They were ready to play across men and women. We had domestic cricket mania this week. And let's start with the Hollywoodbets series, because it was the culmination of both the Pro 50, Hollywoodbets Pro 50 and the Pro 20. That's the women's domestic series. And there were some interesting results in games, right? We went into the Pro 50, which is normally played on a Saturday. So all the teams play a Pro 50 game, which is a 50-over game. Then they'll play a T20 game on the following day, which is the Sunday. The Lions were in the lead in the Pro 50 log, and they were playing the Titans, who could have played a little bit of a spoiler had they lost and had the Dolphins beaten Western Province handsomely with a bonus point in Cape Town. that would have meant the Dolphins defended their title. Remember, the Dolphins won last year, the Pro 50, and I think the Lions won the Pro 20. So this time they were fighting for the Pro 50, and it was Protea Mania. You had Shubnam Ishmael back from the women's IPL. You had Chloe Tryon also back, Tasman Brits in there. You had at the Titans Sine Lease as well, and many other Proteas from the Proteas Women setup were playing around the country, which is really, really amazing to see. We saw 100 from Tasman Brits, who scored 118 for the Lions, and Karabo Miso, remember SA under 19 wicketkeeper, she scored a 66. The Lions ended up scoring 268, and the Titans were restricted to 169 runs. It was that power-packed lineup, Ayabonga Kaka, Shubnam Ishmael. You also had Faye Cowling there as well. And the Lions women effectively winning the 50-over Pro 20 in a dominant display at the Wanderers. When you move to the Pro 20, on the other side, it was an interesting one. But to close out in Cape Town, the Dolphins, it was a rain-affected game. The Dolphins had been set a target. The Western Province set a target of 77. And Faye Tunnicliffe and Lara Goodall, also Protea players. Lara lost a contract in this cycle, 44 not out and 31 not out for a 10-wicket win. So congratulations to them. But this was a Lions Day. But then, moving over to Sunday, the permutations are slightly different for the Pro 20. We also unveiled the trophy for the Pro 50, which was really nice. Just didn't make a bigger splash of it. And it was also in the empty Wanderers, which also is kind of sad. But congratulations to the Lions for that. And then Province finally clinching the T20 title. The Lions needed to win to kind of give themselves a chance, but they lost to the Titans, Annika Bosch scoring 79 not out, Sine Lu scoring 51, and then the Lions were restricted 137 for 6 as well. But in Cape Town, Kayla Reinecker, remember her, former captain SA 19, 36 not out. Nadine de Klerk scoring a 74 to help Western Province get to 142 for 8, and they managed to dismiss the Dolphins by 494 runs, and they won that, and they are now the holders of the Hollywoodbets Pro 20. Tim, Western Province finally get a trophy. It's not a men's trophy, it is a women's trophy, and you get something to smile about this season. If the men can't do it right, best believe the women will do it for you. And then on the other side, the Man City of South Africa is also translating into the women's side.
Yeah, no. The women's team is certainly, they really are performing really well. They're certainly outperforming the men. They look a completely different outfit. They look a unit. They look a really good, solid unit, playing as a team. Obviously, they've got people like Jonathan Newkirk, who's had an enormous impact on the side. But I think that they've all chipped in throughout the season. So, and I think I'm right that they had won the T20 competition before the weekend started. So that just gives you an impact of just how impressive they've been in the T20 competition.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, obviously now the women's season is over. And this is the time, and remember we've asked Enoch and Gray to be like, hey, maybe just one game. Just one game. North versus South, 4-day, red ball cricket. Everyone wears white with the new Macron kits, and just let's have at it. We can go to Tuks. We can play cricket there. You don't need a big stadium. You just need to expose our ladies to some red ball cricket. You can even have 2 games, right? You can have like an A team and 2 A teams, and you have 2 B teams, just so everyone can get a taste and understanding of 4-day cricket. That's how you grow 4-day cricket. You just don't know how it might be received by the public. Obviously, on the men's side, 4-day cricket is just a throwaway. But, for those who really, truly appreciate the game, really, really enjoy it. And this is how you then are able to play test matches.
That's often been said from people who play their own in different countries. The women's competition should be seen completely different. It's a completely different competition. as you rightly point out, if they had a 2-day game, you might get a decent crowd. You might get, a decent crowd turning up to watch it. It provides a different competition. It gives them a different kind of exposure. And with the sponsorship with Hollywoodbets, we spoke about it last week when we spoke to Psycho CEO. That impact has been enormous for the women's game, because those competitions that they are playing already are at the forefront of our minds. If I'm thinking domestic cricket, I'm thinking Pro 20 and Pro 50. I'm not thinking the one-day cup for the men's, because it's not in the forefront. It doesn't have sponsorship. It's only there because of my history within the game, not within where it is at the moment. So there's definitely more scope there for the women's game, definitely.
Yeah. Another tournament league that ended this week was Division 2, Tim. They played their final, 6 of the 7 teams played their final 4-day series games. And so let's just go through the results, and then we'll tell you which teams made the final and give you a bit of piece of the log as well. Okay, the Tuskers, the ACDC Express Tuskers, took on the Inyati in Pietermaritzburg. The Tuskers scored 204, and the reply was 177 by the Inyati. Then the Tuskers went on to score 227 for. The Inyati scored 177. They batted first, and the Tuskers ended up with 204 with a slender lead. The Inyati then resumed in their second innings 253, and then the Tuskers just needed 227 to get themselves a win by 4 wickets. Shane Dadswell, who's having a great start to 2025, scoring 93 and 75 for the Inyati. He's been really good even in the one-day cup as well. Someone who grew up in Joburg, played in the league system here, tried his hand, I think at the Titans, didn't work out there, and then now in Division 2 is thriving. Kagisera Pulana, another Lions boy, scoring 74 there, good to see that. Nathan Rue with a 56, Jay de Klerk taking 7 for 83, and Jack Lees 118 not out at the top of the order, with Sean Whitehead taking a 4 for 63 for the Tuskers. The other game there was in Mpumalanga. They're having a great 2025. 360 Limpopo were put into bat. They bowled them out for 230, and then Mpumalanga scored mammoth 365, and they then went on to bowl Limpopo out for 217 and only needing 1085 to win the game by 10 wickets. Heinrich Pieterse at 98 not out. For Mpumalanga, you've got Jacques Sneeman with the 55. Pieterse is from Limpopo, sorry. Sneeman 55, Mone Fenter 54 for Limpopo. Kirtland Manikam 6 for 72. He was insane in that first innings. Just they didn't know where the ball was going, and even if they do, it was just unbelievable bowling from Kirtland Manikam, who is a spinner. Benjamin van Niekerk 83, as well as Albany, the Limpopo bowler, 5 for 80, and it's Yasar Cook with 145 not out. Mohamed Yasar Cook really doing really well there. I must say the Mpumalanga social media team were great. We had reels for pretty much every wicket that Mpumalanga took, which was really awesome, because you could obviously follow there with all the games going on around the country. So well done to the Rhinos social media team. That's the type of stuff we want. Give the people what they want, and they give us exactly what we were hoping for. Easterns finally getting a win. It was lots of wet weather about down there in Oudtshoorn, and it ended up being a 1 innings game. 1 innings from each side, and Chris Britt scoring a 120, Johan van Dijk 91. Botha scoring 54 and Bell scoring 53. George van Heerden with 101 for Southwestern Districts. Wasn't enough. They got bowled out with 12 runs to go. And 4-day series Division 2. a lot of the stuff was decided, Tim, in terms of the winner, but the second place spot was also decided. But it was also just more about respect and finishing strong. The Tuskers needed to win handsomely in order for them to actually usurp the Northern Cape Heat, and they did. They got more than 24 points in this round in order for them to go to the top spot. So well done to them. But in Mpumalanga, really, really awesome. They are having the 2025 of their lives. I think Yuri Snyman, who was thinking about retiring, might not, because this team is on a really, really nice purple patch, and it seems like things are going forward for them. And obviously in that last game, Easterns, well done, Jeff, for a win. They finally got that win in the 4-day series. They had 0 wins, and it was a question of were they going to go without a win in this season, and they managed to get one.
Yeah, I'll touch on the Easterns game. It's nice that both teams came to an agreement and said, listen, instead of just letting the game peter out for a draw, let's try go for a result. And it's nice that both teams came to that agreement, basically forfeiting an innings each and making a real game of it, as you say. That 308 from the Badgers was scored at just under 4 and over. So they were really going for the result. So that's really good. It's really good to see both teams not really playing for anything, but just a really good game of cricket. That's really good to see from that level. And as you say, Mpumalanga, they now finished 3rd in the last 2 tournaments, 1-day cup and the 4-day series. They were millimeters away from making that final in the 1-day competition, and they're finishing off well here. As you say, they finished the season really, really well. I just hope that they can, as you say, build on it. You want to see teams like Mpumalanga now build on it, maybe get a couple of 1 or 2 Division 1 players who are not playing every week down there for next season. That would be a really good scoop for them. But they're finishing well, which is really good to see.
No, and that's what you want, right? You want to, these, from a promotion relegation perspective, right? If Mpumalanga gets promoted next year, these are the things we'll look back to the season and be like, yes, they had a really great start to 2025. And now in August, when they start well, you're like, okay, they're a team that can compete for promotion, right? They're not there now, but this is how these things start. You don't just, arrive and be like, oh, we're getting promoted, out of a season. You have to build through. And it speaks to all the facets of cricket, right? T20, ODI, 1-day cup, and a 4-day series. I love domestic cricket because it takes all 3. It is about all 3. It is not just a short, sharp sprint. It's a marathon giving you multiple things, like a triathlon, right? One, it's a long journey, but you will cycle, you'll swim, you'll run. Here, it's T20, ODI, and 4-day series. And that's the beauty about this. And they really did well. And well done to Mpumalanga. What a season. What a way to end. As well, the Inyati. The Inyati started with 8 losses straight. Just 8 games in thing. They're just catching L's. After that, they were like laying down L's for everyone else, which is what you want, right? And we're really, really proud of them. Shane Dadzo, my word, well done, right? From where it's going, I'm sure you were unsure about where your cricket was, but it's a testament in the fact that Division 2 is not the end. It's not some place where cricket futures go to die. It's a place where you can revitalize a cricket career. Kagiso Rapulana as well really, really batted well for them, and they like him in that anchor role across all formats, and he works for them, right? He bats slower than most, but he's still a very good batter. Right, and so you're starting to see the threads, and Division 2 is a great place for you to play without any pressure and to just learn your game and learn your things. So when you do get into Division 1, you understand your game, you know who you are, and you can be a better professional for it. So well done, really, really great Division 2 season. And to a certain extent, with all this talk about scrapping the 2 things, obviously from a financial perspective, but I think from a playing perspective on the field, I think this is really, really great. And having SA Emerging pop in and out, is also really nice. Or the
Yeah.
SN19s, because it gives you a thing. So really good there. Let's just have a look at the Division 2 table because we're now done. The ACD Express Tuskers usurping the Northern Cape Heat, 104 points at the end, and Northern Cape Heat not playing in this round, finishing second in 103 points. The Rhinos 92 points in third. Eastern Cape Inyati, as you see, 78 points in fourth. The Badgers 71 points in fifth. The Impalas with one win, 61 points in sixth position, and bringing up the rear. Eastern Storm 1 win, 48 points. That's if there ever was one team that kind of has a bit of a legacy, it is the Storm. They should be the ones we're expecting to compete for promotion year in and year out, with the proximity to some of the bigger unions. But they really had a really bad season across all formats, and so I'm sure they're happy to see that end. But yeah, well done to the coaches for allowing the players to get game time. Imagine traveling all the way and sitting in the rain and not getting some game. I think it was really good to kind of get some competition there and still have some jeopardy, which is really important. Speaking of that, that means that we have a final, ladies and gentlemen, on the 2nd of April, 2025. The ACD Express Tuskers will be taking on the Northern Cape Heat in Pietermaritzburg for the Division 2 4-day series final. These two teams are the best teams. I think it's great because the two best teams across all three formats, and finally they can get to play. It's not full promotion, unfortunately, for the Heat. Third year bridesmaids, just always the bridesmaid, never the bride, unfortunately for them. But it's a nice way to just finish the season on a high and also just stick one to the team that's going up, even though you're not going up, but just, be like, hey, we took the trophy. Even though guys will be like, we're going up. We don't care anymore. We're going up. We are going up. Said we are going up. That's what the Tuskers are singing this entire weekend until the 2nd of April, I'm assuming, and until August starts. So the only question we need to figure out is who's going down. Now, let's move over to Division 1 because that's going to tell us who's going down. Now, 4 games, 8 teams every week. We've got 4 games. This week we've actually got 3, but yeah, we'll talk about that. The Dolphins hosted Northwest, and they and Northwest batted first. They scored 311. The Dolphins came back with 260 in reply, so they just had a bit of a deficit there of 50 runs. Actually, it's actually quite a large deficit. They then ended up bowling out Northwest for 186, and the Dolphins getting to 240 for 4 to win by 6 wickets. So really impressive win by the Dolphins there. Reinhard van Tonder for the Northwest, scoring 54. Jason Smith for the Dolphins, 117 not out. You also had Vian Libba, 59 for the Northwest. Rowan de Swart for the Northwest against his former team, 75. So do Ronan Herman, not Ronan, Ruben Herman, 65. You'll remember him. He had a really great T20 and series. And then Ramashan Pillay for the Dolphins scoring 70, and Sadal Advia scoring 55 for the Dolphins. From a bowling perspective, we just don't have the bowlers here for that 186. Bryce Parsons took 5 for 28 in that game in the second innings, and Penno Subrian took 2 for 58. From a Northwest perspective, 3 wickets to Ruan de Swart for 39, Bamanye Nqenqe 2 for 34, Odirile Modimokwane 3 for 46 in that first innings. And Penelin Subrian also in the first innings took 4 for 91, Uguhle Qale 3 for 49. Just to talk about the bowlers, because I realized we're batter heavy. You can kind of see what Tim likes from his perspective. Tim, the Dolphins, an unexpected win, a much-needed win for them against a team that they were trying to move away from the relegation. But you could say that they were set because obviously what happened in the One Day Cup where they managed to get themselves to second place. So really, really great win. And also to see Northwest fighting there. And I think that this result, even though it went against them, will go a long way in assisting them getting themselves away from that relegation line.
All these games had moments where they won or lost. It was every single fixture. This one, it was, and I saw it at the time. I said, this is going to be, that's it. Dolphins are going to win. Northwest were in their, they were 171 for 7 in their first innings. No, second innings. 171 for 7 with a lead of 225. They had Ruan de Swart was on 60 odd not out, and Amanda Chicha was in on about 30, and he was looking good. I've been waiting for him to contribute with the bat for some time.
More, yes, yeah.
And the Dolphins were not really finding an answer. It was a good partnership. They'd been around for a long time. The lead was 225. He hits it down to mid-on. They go for a second. The throw from Pavalon is a really, really good one. A really, really hard, flat throw, but it's a little wide of the stumps. You often talk about bowlers not getting to the stumps and not being in a position to take the run out, often starting in the middle of the wicket. Bryce Parsons, the bowler, got to the left side of the stumps, took the ball to his far left and pulled that ball onto the stumps and ran out Pamania. It was absolutely crucial, and you saw the way the Dolphins reacted. They were cock-a-hoop. That lead was still on 225. It was 15 runs. The next two, then 10 and 11 managed 15 runs. If they had got to a lead of 280, 290, which was possible, especially with Ruan de Swart, it could have been a very, very different result. And as you rightly point out, in terms of relegation, it could have had dramatic consequences. So that was crucial. But Dolphins were, if you look at the 4 days, the Dolphins were the better team. They did win those vital moments at the right times. Jason Smith's 100 was absolutely crucial. His partnership with Kaya Zondo, who made, I think, 40, 45 or so, absolutely crucial time of the innings, because they did lose a couple of early wickets in that chase. But they deserve to win the game across the 4 days.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we like 4-day cricket, right? It's there'll be multiple moments. You can't lose and win a game on one moment. You'll win. It's about a series of moments, winning those and getting through, even when you have a deficit of 50, right? And that's the thing about it, right? It's important to get a lead, yes. So Northwest would have ticked that off, but you then need to close the game out, and they didn't. The other moments went the other way from them. So it was just disappointing, because I thought the Northwest this year, from a batting perspective, they're the strongest they've been in a while, and it's good to see that they are showing it. It's just from a bowling perspective, they were let down, and they just couldn't win those moments as well. Okay, next game was Western Province finally getting a win. They beat the Titans in Pretoria. It's Centurion. Titans scoring 225 in the first innings. Province with a 25-run lead after scoring 250 in reply to 11 with the Titans, and Province managing to get that 187 for 3. Luandre Pretorius 103 again. He is proving to all and sundry that he is an all-format player and should be in the Proteas side as soon as possible. Deva Brevis on 99 as well. Just disappointing not to get that century. Tony DeZorzi 78 not out, which is really good to see the Proteas back. And George Linda 51 not out. Tim, all I'm going to say is no Linda, no party. That's all it is for Western Province. But it's good to see that they managed to get a win in the 4-day cup and series, and to help them against relegation, to give them something. They're still a long way away from necessarily catching like Northwest and on the log, and we'll talk about that. But it's a win's a win, and a win is what you need at this time of the year.
And we said that the experienced guys need to stand up. George Linder, 51, David Burnham, 67, and Tony DeZorsi, 78, not out. That was the difference. The Titans desperately need batting reinforcements next season. They cannot rely on Brevis and Lawandre every single game. It cannot continue. That second innings, they were in a decent position. A poor shot from Brevis, I've got to say, on 99. In that China of utterly off stump and a big, expansive drive, but all you need to do is drop it and run, and you get your 100. I've got to give a special mention there to Jody Lawrence. Jody Lawrence, 34 years old, club cricketer for years and years and years and years. A real 100% cricketer. I thought he bowled superbly in this match, in both innings. Got 3 wickets the first, 4 wickets the second, 7 wickets the match. He was absolutely superb. Just bowling the right lines, right lengths, and bowling his heart out. I've said to a friend, actually, I'm not sure we're going to see him next season. But on his performances recently, I think we may well see him. I was very, very impressed. And I'll also give credit to Matthew Boast. I thought Matthew Boast bowled really well.
As well, yeah.
I thought he bowled really well. Good to see his pace up as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, look, I think Mithali Mpongwana took him 4 for 24, Jody 3 for 49. Really good to see that. Matthew Boast 3 for 57, Junior Dala 4 for 53 for the Titans. And in that second innings, Jody Lawrence's 4 for 39 was instrumental to getting the Titans out and getting the win for Western Province, right? And these are the stories we want. And I've got a question as to why he's not in your team of the week. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Okay, there was a draw in Boland. Rain all the time, and bad light and all these other things. The Fortains came through there. Clyde Fortain, 61. Bjorn Fortain, 6 for 83. Hamza, 83. And Sean from Berg, 4 for 82. Boland, 229. Drew with the Lions, 259. We're not going to talk much about that game. Just, there's not a lot of implications for that game. The Lions are at the top of the log, and Boland obviously so far away from being relegated this time. Then another relegation humdinger, because the Knights are now in that bottom 4. The Knights drawing with the Warriors. 171 plays 191, 166 for 4, playing 349 for 5. It's the other way around, 349 for 5 declared. The Warriors, then the 166 for 4 was over, I think, I don't know how many, 70 overs in total. Joe van Dijk 4 for 48 for the Warriors, and Pangisa scoring 74 for the Knights. Bear Swanepoel 6 for 30. He got a milestone there. I think it was 100 wickets in the new provincial system. Matthew de Villiers, 201, double century for the man. It was his maiden century, and he made it a double. JP King also getting his maiden half century in a full-day cricket. I just want to get this banner out the way, because you also have Patrick Botha, 77, and Gian Kluter, 43 not out of 248. It was traditional red ball cricket, 4-day cricket, Tim, for the Knights. They were batting to save their season, batting to get themselves out of the hole, and 166 for 4 over 70-odd overs in the day. It's still nice to go back to the old classics, right, of just fighting to stay on in the final day and surviving.
At the same time that Jofra Archer was getting the most expensive IPL figures in history, that game was on. And you know which game I was watching. You don't even have to guess. You know which game I was watching. The Knights, the first innings, 76 for 6. Scraping their way to 191. In terms of points, they had to get to over 150. That first innings performance was vital in terms of relegation. Absolutely vital. It's the second time this season that Aaron Pangisa has contributed vitally for Knights with the bat. It's the second time he's got his highest score Aaron Bongiso is 41 years old. His two highest scores in first-class cricket are 73 and 74, both at 41. You're never too old to perform. You're never too old to perform. In the second innings, they were 23 for 3. Again, 23 for 3. That's why I've got that at the bottom of the scorecard. That's when Patrick Botha and Gian Clutti come together. They have to basically bat out most of the day, 95% of the day, to save the game. There were, I would say, 3 or 4 possibilities where they could have been given out. I'm not saying they were dead certs, but they were close calls. 3 or 4 close calls, which would have opened the gates and they would have lost. And that basically would have sent them to relegation. They absolutely had to draw this game any way possible. That partnership of 126 of 474 balls was absolutely,
that's insane.
Absolutely enthralling cricket. Absolutely enthralling cricket. The Warriors tried everything. They tried everything. Jordan Herman was bowling off spin at the end, trying to get a wicket. They tried every single thing they could possibly do. And I've got to, whatever happens in terms of relegation, you've got to take a hat off to tonight's performance, because if they go down, they're not going to go down without a fight. Hugely impressive performance for the bats. Absolutely vital. And then of course I've got to mention Matthew de Villiers. Matthew de Villiers' 6th game in professional cricket scores 200. You've seen him score 90. You've seen him score 80. You've seen him score 70. This weekend he went the big ones. This weekend I knew it was coming, but I didn't necessarily know it was coming this soon. This boy is the real deal. This boy should be in the next SA emerging team. That's how good I think he is. 200, fantastic innings. It looked to me like it was going to change the game, change this particular game. I thought that it was going to tire out the Knights in terms of an emotional side, because the hill they had to climb to get 6 points for the draw was very, very daunting. Absolutely daunting. And then I know it's a bit long. Yes, you're quite right. Since our domestic restructuring, only one man has got to 100 first-class wickets, and that's Bayer Swanepoel. Nobody else has got there. There's a couple with 90-odd. He's the first one to get to 100. So congrats to Bears.
Yeah, may not be good enough to play for the Proteas, but he's good enough to take those wickets and keep knocking on that door. Also, I think Senna Mutasamy scored 5,000 runs from a milestone perspective, so well done to him in first-class cricket. So, yeah, that's largely the week of weekend of cricket, and now we go to what's this thing? The table. Table, yes. The Lions still lead after 5 games, 3 wins, 2 draws at 97 points. The Dolphins with that handsome win getting to 80 points. The Titans are on 3rd and 77 points. The Knights in 4th, 75 points after playing 1 more game than everyone else. The Boerland, 75 points as well in 5th position. The Western Province after that win, sorry, I should actually put the 1 in that column, 73 points. Northwest with 58 points in there, no wins there for them. And the Warriors, no wins for them with 49 points. And it's important for the promotion relegation, right? And so here's the updated promotion relegation table for, actually, that's the thing that's not here. Give me a moment to bring it up. So the promotion table is as follows, right? The promotion side were done. Tuskers are promoted. This is the final seats table Tuskers Heat with half the points. The Storm finishing in third, even though they had a bad 4-day and 1-day cup. The Rhinos in fourth, well done to them. Inyati in fifth, Badgers in sixth, and Limpopo with 4 points in last position, but they don't get relegated because ends there for them. In the relegation side, which is Division 1, the Lions at the top with 32 points, Titans in second with 24. The Dolphins, after moving up the table in the 4-day series, going to 21 points, go to third. Boland sitting in fourth with 21 points as well. Northwest Dragons with 9 points, and this is the relegation candidates in fifth position. The Knights sitting in sixth position with 8 points. They need a few more wins to move up the table, and there is a possibility that they can usurp the who's there? The Titans to get to seventh. And then you've got Western Province in second last with 7 points, and the Warriors in 7 points in last. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds as the season goes by. But wins gets you there more than anything else, right, Tim?
Indeed. There's so much on the line. There's so much on the line in these upcoming games. That's before we even discuss the fact that the Knights, according to themselves, are due an extra 2 points. If they got those 2 points from the 1-day competition in their disagreement with Cricket South Africa with what happened with the Warriors, they will be fine. That's how crucial it is. If they got those 2 points, they would be on the same level as the Warriors. I've sort of looked at the potential results. They would then, if they in line with the Warriors, they would then stay up because they are higher up in the 4-day competition. The team that's higher up in the 4-day competition stays up. So
that's the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that is the tiebreaker. Basically, the Warriors, no Warriors, the Knights. Sorry, the Warriors. The team that, the Knights need Northwest to beat the Titans. That's basically it.
That's where we're going now in terms of the fixtures, right? The Titans take on the Dragons on Thursday. In a must-win game. The Knights and the Warriors are not playing this week, so that's going to be quite interesting because they're sitting at home watching. The Lions take on the Dolphins, and Western Province take on Boland. To be said, Northwest needs the Dragons to beat the Titans for them to move up. It's like it's a double-edged sword, right? Because the Dragons are going to be moving up, and the Titans are going to be going down. But a Dragons win is a win-win for the Knights because everyone moves up. And the Knights being so below them, it's still kind of, with the Dragons being below the Knights, it helps the Knights more. So it's going to be quite interesting. And obviously the Lions take on the Dolphins in a top of the table clash at the Wanderers. So please do go out and check that out. And then obviously Western Province looking for another W against their neighbours Boland at Newlands. Must win for Western Province to get away from that bottom table. And I think they need helpful fixtures somewhere else, i.e. the Titans need to beat the Dragons. Lions and Dolphins are looking to figure out who's going to be playing in the final, but it could also be a potential 4-day series final.
Yeah. The permutations are all there. All of these teams that we've mentioned can potentially go down. The only one, as we've said, that we were worried about for the last couple of weeks was the Dolphins, but they've completely turned their season around. They're flying high in the right direction. But as you rightly point out, the Warriors, the Knights, Province, they're the ones that are in the danger area, so to speak.
In the danger zone. Yes. Okay. Then the next one is the teams of the week. Tim's teams of the week. I'm assuming that we're going to get a 4-day series Division 2 team of the season, but let's start with Division 2. Jack Lees is there. Hanif Peterson from what is it? Limpopo. there. George Van Heerden from the Badgers. Chris Brits from the Easterns with that 120. Yasa Cook from Mpumalanga. Shane Dadswell from the Inyati. Benjamin Fanike from the Rhinos. Jay de Klerk from the Inyati. Then you had Gareth Dukes and James Albany from Limpopo and Kirtland Manikam, who are just Gareth Dukes and Kirtland Manikam were just running rings around everyone there at Limpopo. But good to see a healthy helping of Mpumalanga, and not so much the other way with the Tuskers players. I would have thought we'd see more Tuskers players, but we only got one this time, Tim.
Yeah, it was more about how they won, that kind of fixture. Both these teams were very difficult this week. There were lots of players that are left out on both divisions. It was a challenge. I was bowled over by the Mpumalanga and the way they finished the season. I just think that's why I've got 4 of their players in there, which is I don't normally have that many from one team. I try to keep it to 3 from if I can, but I just thought their whole team performance credited their players being in. Obviously, Yasser Cook's innings of 145 is impossible to leave out. George Van Heerden, even though it was a losing cause, his 100 was really good. Heinrich Petersen, who I've been highly complimentary of, not on here, but I've been waiting for him to get more game time, to show his worth. He scored a really good 98. And look, if Jake Lees can stay injury-free next season, and assuming he's still going to be in Division 2, he's going to be in this team a lot more, because that boy is something special. But yeah, that's pretty much why I picked the team that I did. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Now on to Division 1. This is a 4-day series team of the week, but there's still some overlap from the One Day Cup, i.e. Luanda Pretorius makes appearance here again, but this time at the top of the order when he bats 6 for the Titans. But anyway, Tony DeZorzi, welcome back, Tony, into this. Very much needed runs for Western Province. Renard Fantondo of Northwest also may get in the nod. Devo Brevis also another overlap from the One Day Cup. Jason Smith made a few One Day Cup squads for Tim, so that was good. Matthew de Villiers also did the same, but that 201 cemented it. You had then the Fortains, Clyde and Bjorn. One's a wicketkeeper, one's a spinner. Well done to them for their efforts this weekend. Bear Swanepoel, the leading wicket taker in provincial cricket, the new version. And Sean van Berg, who's also an overlap from the One Day Cup. And Joe van Dijk, who is Mr. I bowl 150 and take a lot of wickets, and I'm a fast bowler. I'm a fast bowler. I'm a fast bowler. I'm a fast bowler. I like this squad, actually. I think you could roll it out into some weird SAA type of vibe, and they'd actually do quite well.
Yeah, you're right. Of course, I wouldn't necessarily open with Luan. This was very difficult to pick that top 6. I wouldn't necessarily have Matthew at 6 either. I would like to have Matthew at 5 if I was being particularly picky. But I think that the nucleus of the side makes sense. But you're right, the batting order perhaps could be jigged slightly. I could have had Fontunda opening, for example. But look, Luan is just an incredible batsman. His game is so good at the moment. He's seeing the ball so well. It's actually it's a shame that the season is ending for him. I so enjoy watching him bat at the moment. Dora Rivers played well, but again threw it away. You know, he had a great chance to get to 100, as I mentioned earlier, threw it away, but still a good 99. He's shown that he can play this format, and doesn't necessarily have to hit it out the ground all the time. I think that needs to be drummed into him, though. Don't have to hit it out the ground all the time. Jason Smith, fantastic.
But to a certain extent,
Yeah.
For like on the Brevis and Luanda Pretoria, like to a certain extent, you want youngsters to be a little bit more aggressive. It's obviously cricket's an inherent game of failure, especially as you go higher up. And so my thing is, I'd rather you be aggressive at this level and learn how to, rip the throat out of your opponent's neck in a very crude way. And keep that aggression, right? Play, because everyone always speaks about playing the way, your style, your way, to allow youngsters to allow the youngster to play that way, right? The time for him adapting his game and changing his game is going to come, and it's going to come at the Proteas level. And so for now, let him, play his natural game. Same thing with Luanda, but the other point for those two is I wouldn't be surprised if Shukri calls them up into some sort of wider squad, traveling reserve type of vibe, because I think they are putting themselves even above a Britsky and a who's the next in line. It was largely Britsky, and maybe Rix is obviously in the squad, but they're putting themselves in that next man up conversation across, even in the test matches, which is quite interesting, right? And it's really fascinating. I know it's just one season for Luanda and you want to give him time, but I think we've all seen enough, and we kind of feel that he's at that level. Diego Brevis is slightly different, largely from a consistency perspective, but Luanda has given us the consistency, which is weird. But you'd say you want to apply the same brushstrokes to both of them. But yeah, I just feel like we're penalizing Jevalt a little bit more for a reckless shot, when our answer when they go into the national team as juniors is no, they must play their natural game. Reckless shots is your natural game. And Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting, they all had reckless shots and they reined themselves in and cut parts of their game out. And that's the maturity. But I don't know if you want to see that at the Titans or if you want to see that at the Proteas.
I get your point, and you do make a valid point. I guess for me, Luanda plays 3 formats tomorrow. That's I mean, assuming
wow.
if somebody is injured within our current squad, he goes straight in. I don't even have to. He goes straight in. It's just he's got everything, that chap. He's got absolutely everything. I'm still undecided about Brevis. Yes, I would put him in the white ball squads tomorrow. Absolutely, without question. I would put him in the wider white ball squads. Absolutely, without question. He should definitely be in that series against New Zealand A. Absolutely, without question. I'm not sure about the red ball at this point. He's got the talent, absolutely. I would just like him to just rein it in at times. Not always, but I know that the propensity to hit the ball out the ground is there. Whereas I'm not worried about that when it comes to the Luanda. I'm not worried about that. Generally speaking, he gets out to a good delivery. Not always.
They make mistakes.
Even in the hundreds that he's made, he's gone and then he's made a mistake and got out.
Yeah.
I just think in terms of where they are at the moment, Luanda is better placed to play three formats than Brevis. And
look, to a certain extent, it's the ability to be able to build these consistent performances over time. And as more responsibility gets thrown on them, i.e. batting in the top 4, batting in the top order, we want to see that. And I think the key tenets and the key skill sets that we know of the greats, and I'm not saying Luanda is going to be the greatest of all time or, the pantheon of great cricketers, but you can see the ability to build an innings for a very long time across all 3 formats, ability to be able to do that and protect your wicket and do those things well and to because the thing with him was when he left the CSA T20, because he came there with a bang, and then he moved over to the 4-day series, he scored that maiden 100, and we all sat there going, wow, This kid's very mature for his age. He's batting unlike the one we've seen in the T20. And then he moved to SA20, and you're like, oh, okay, he can do that too, and he's more consistent. But now he's coming back saying, yeah, now we can play around. Even the One Day Cup, it was we can build innings, and we understand how to manipulate what the different pressures are and the different timescales across the 3 formats. And it's giving someone who could be part of a international Fab Four. And it's actually quite interesting because the question is, where do you rank Luandre to the current guys in the Proteas setup? I.e. a Stubbs, i.e. a Ricks, i.e. even a Tony and a Matthew, and even an Aiden, and a Temba. Just be like, where is he on this? Is he good enough for you to say, we're taking a flyer on this kid like a Sam Constance in the World Test Championship final and be like, here, no wonder here's a cap. Go win us the game at Lords.
No, because
Tim, come on.
No, because of the English ball and English conditions. But he's going to play for Hampshire this season in the Vitality Blast. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Can we not get him red ball cricket for Hampshire before then?
I would love to. I would absolutely.
Oh, but he can't be an overseas pro because he hasn't got a Proteas debut.
No.
We're busy giving Corbin Bosch debuts. The guy we need is Luandre. Like, can someone just give us a get him? Because that would work, right? Even if he played, I'm thinking even if he played club cricket, I think he will. But if he does well at club cricket level in the UK, I wouldn't hesitate to be like, look, dude, you're already there. Just come into the setup. Just come and see. Because I know Shooks is looking for X Factor players. This kid's an X Factor player. If he spoke the same way about Tristan Stubbs last year when they tried to make Tristan Stubbs a number 4, or 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, he should say the same thing about this kid. Because every time I watch this kid on YouTube, because he's only on YouTube for 4-day or domestic cricket, I'm just impressed. Every time I'm impressed. And maybe it's a lefty thing, it's a Graham Smith, Quinton de Kock thing, but kid's got it in spades and a lot. But anyway, okay. Tim, let's get to the end of the show. This is the end of the show. Lots more drama. We had a drama-filled weekend. We had teams holding on for dear life, and they managed to do that. We had teams watching out the rain and deciding, actually, let's make a game of it. We had teams fighting, but not getting there, not getting over the line. I see you, Northwest. We see you. If you survive, we understand why. And we had teams trying to assert themselves in a new regime. The Dolphins doing really well in terms of just putting that season back on track. Didn't start off well under new coaching management, but like Quinton Friend is actually doing a good job now at the Dolphins and getting the best out of those guys. And well done to the Division 2 teams and the like. And wish them all the best. And good luck to Division 1 teams this week. It's going to be a humdinger. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. And outside of that, Tim, remember, please, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Remember, we're on Full Quarter Pod on X for all the news this week related to the domestic game. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want this to be in an audio version. And also, you can buy some coffee there at buymeacoffee.com/podcast. Outside of that, for myself and Tim, it's goodbye and lesale kakahis.